Thanks for joining us for This Week in Odyssey, where subscribers to Odyssey, the print MIS for marketing ideas for printers, can discover what's new in Odyssey and learn about the best practices to use Odyssey to its fullest. Let's get started.
I just realized I was on mute again. I know I did that last week, so I do apologize. Welcome to Marketing Ideas for Printers This Week in Odyssey webinar. Real quick, a little weather tidbit. Spring appears to be arriving soon, at least here in Michigan. We have some robins I've seen and heard. Daffodils are trying to poke through, and perhaps we'll break 50 degrees this weekend. But Fargo is a little different story. There's an article I read, they have seen about 55 straight days below freezing for a high temperature. So I guess I can't complain where I'm located. All right, back to business. This is episode number 15, if anyone is keeping track, or if you're curious how many of these webinars have occurred so far. We will be presenting these webinars every other Wednesday morning. Please note the webinar occurs at 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And this bi-weekly webinar focuses on release notes, if there's any noteworthy bug fixes, perhaps a few tips and tricks, anything and everything that you would want to know about Odyssey. And with today's episode, I will be going over just a few of the fixes that have been made over the past few weeks. Also, we have listened as our customers have voiced their concern over a few invoicing functions in Odyssey, and we'll go over a few of those changes as well. Also, be sure to stick around till the end of this video where I'll show you an area you perhaps didn't know existed in Odyssey to view recent website prices that were calculated on your website. This may be an area you have not explored yet, or perhaps you were wondering what it does. We'll go over what I'm referring to at the end of the webinar. So to start today, I just wanted to go over the help section again. We never know if there's going to be some new folks on here, or maybe we have a couple customers that have only been on here in the beginning. The upper right here with the help, if I hover over this, you can view Odyssey documentation, which is our PDF. You can view release notes, which are released every other week. And as of Monday, we do have some notes, newer notes that were released. And then you can open a Help Center support ticket from your website if you have a question or something's coming up that you're not sure of. So these are the three options from the help menu in the upper right. All right, a couple of the fixes I mentioned that I wanted to go over. The gutter and the bleed. So as you're going through the component wizard, it's going to ask you if there's a gutter, a bleed, and so forth. And then where you can find that after you've entered it in is in the layout calculator. What had been happening was the gutter and the bleed, if there was one in this case, they were being added together rather than the gutter including the bleeds. So we have updated this. So now if you were to go through the wizard and enter in a gutter and a bleed, Odyssey will correctly ensure that the gutter is including the bleeds and not adding those together. Also, we've heard from some folks that the component wizard was slow and pokey. So if you're going through this, it should be running a little bit faster for you now and not doing its a hiccup. So we found what was causing that, and now that should be running more smoothly for you. And last but not least, for those of you that maybe paid attention to any of these icons or buttons at the top, there was a 3-button icon in this lighter gray dashboard. So not this darker, but there was another icon that was perhaps causing confusion in the upper left here, and it was showing blank to some folks, and it just wasn't needed. So we removed that icon. So now the only things that be showing up here are ones that you can click on, you can actually go to and do something. So we kind of cleaned up Odyssey a little bit in that respect as well. So one of the updates that I also wanted to mention, and this is in invoicing. So if we're going to go back to the main dashboard of Odyssey, and you can either click on the accounting icon or click on invoicing. I'm just going to click on the invoicing icon. And I know I've gone over this in a prior webinar where we have switched up the invoicing functionality and how it looks a little bit. But under the Ready to Invoice button here, these buttons were not here in our prior release of Odyssey. We've had some customers that there was a down arrow and then you would select whether you wanted to edit, to print, to email. With these buttons now, as you can see, there's a little arrow over some of these. There's now a quick visual for you to see if you've already generated the PDF, if you've already emailed to your customers. So now this makes a little bit quicker decision making, and it's a little bit quicker for you as an accountant or as a user of Odyssey to see what may have been done with some of these actions. So we have brought back the functionality of the buttons so you can easily see, oh, have we emailed, have we already printed this invoice, and so forth. Along with that, let's see, I want to use an example to show you multi-line invoicing. So if I'm going to edit this invoice here, I've already kind of started this for you, but under the description, as you can see, I have quite a few lines and it can be quite lengthy. Odyssey wasn't allowing for, I think it was past a couple lines. So if I was to save and print and close this screen, and you'll see the generated invoice under this description. As you can see, it's lengthy, multi-lines. So Odyssey now allows you for, I suppose, as long as the description as you need for whatever it is needed on the invoice, that this is kind of going on and on, as you can see. So now we've given you the ability to ensure that those that have long descriptions, they will show up on the invoice that needs to be emailed to your customer. All right. So back to the trick that I mentioned a little bit earlier. It is called View Website Prices. And where might this be found, you ask? Well, we click on the Estimates icon. At the top here, there's the Add Estimate icon. So that's where you're going to add a new estimate. There's also what is called the View Website Prices icon. So I'm not sure how many of you pay attention to that button or if you know what it does, but I'm going to show what it can do for you. So clicking on this View Website Prices icon, you're probably wondering, what the heck? So what Odyssey is doing, or the overall intention of this, is the most recent 50 times that Odyssey attempted to calculate or correctly calculated a price from any of your order forms, it is showing you the last 50 times that Odyssey has done that. Now, I've gone in and gone through and done some of these in the past couple days to be sure I am understanding of it, which I am. But as you can see, on most of these, Odyssey did calculate a price from whatever order form this happened to be from. If you select the binoculars icon, you can view details of whatever line item this is. So if I click the binoculars, for instance, for this first line item, Odyssey is going to basically let you know and show you the different resources that is needed, how long it takes, what's the cost, the type of resource, and give you a total. So if you want to see maybe your customers, what they're trying to calculate, what maybe order form are folks going to lately, maybe they calculated a price and they didn't move it from their cart into an order, or whatever may be the case, and you want to see the most 50 recent website prices from whatever order form, this is a location. Here's the description, the hours, the amount, and you come up with a total at the bottom. That is the binoculars icon. The little eye icon, view calling information, this is a little bit more detailed. If someone is logged in, it'll give them their name, it'll give you their name and their email. What's the finish size, whatever the questions may have been on the form that they filled out. My units were in inches. There was no bleed in this case. The ink colors were 4/0, so CMYK over 0, and so forth. So a little bit more information under the eye icon. If you wanted to create an estimate from this price calculation, you would just click the save icon and Odyssey will create an estimate for you. And it'll tell you what the estimate number is. If you wanted to move or save this price in a specified estimate, clicking the little arrows will allow you to go through a little bit more detail. If you want to tell Odyssey what estimate number you want to give it. If you want to tell exactly who you want this contact to be, and if you want to add in some optional notes. So a couple different things you can do with each of these icons under the options column. What I'm actually going to do is go through my brochures order form, act like I was going to, I shouldn't act like, I'm going to have Odyssey calculate a price, and then I'm going to refresh Odyssey and show you how that translates to the view website prices. So if I had to refresh and act like I'm coming in to this new, my quantity I just have in as 100, I'm going to change that to 1,000 brochures. I'm going to leave the color for now as full color front on print in black, so 4/0. My paper choices, we'll say this is a 100-pound gloss cover, and we're going to say this is white paper. The size, let's say I want to have this a little bit bigger, maybe 11 by 17. And I don't really need bleeds for this brochure. I'm going to leave folding options as none, shrink wrapping as none, aqueous coating as none, and so forth. This job name will just say example for website prices. So as you can see at the bottom, Odyssey calculated a price of $94.78. These are the selections I made. Let's remember the size, 11 by 17 paper, 100-pound gloss cover, and our color option was full color front, no ink on the back, with quantity of 1,000. Let's go back to my Odyssey. I'm going to refresh this page, and you're going to see a new line come up, and it should be what we just saw in the brochure's order form. So I'm going to refresh, and it should take me back to it. There it is. Now, the reason this is showing up 4 times is, if you remember seeing, when I selected a paper, it gave me a price. When I selected a size, it changed the price. So Odyssey, whenever there's a price change on the order form, it puts us in as a new line. I'm sorry, not a price change, a different selection made on the order form. That may or may not change the price, but it's simply a different selection made. So this very top one is the last one that I'm going to look at. Here is the size that I chose. Here is that ink that I chose, full color front, no color on the back. Let's take a look at the binoculars, see what Odyssey's showing me. It quick shows you the paper at the top here. Here's all the different resources, what is needed to produce this job, and what was needed to come up with the $94.78. If we go back, $94.78. So that matches. I'm going to take a look at the little information button here. Here's the finished size 11 by 17. I did say no for bleeds. Ink color CMYK/0. And I said the paper color was white. So what Odyssey did was it's taking all the different selections, if there was the price change and so forth, putting this in as different line numbers, still keeping 50 lines for the most recent website prices, but dropping off the 4 older ones and putting in these 4 newer ones up here. If I wanted to save this as an estimate, I could certainly press the save button. If I wanted to maybe move this to an estimate, I could certainly select move to estimate. I could say this is estimate 1130 if I wanted to. We could always say I'm going to give this a contact. Sure, you could go through and certainly choose all the necessary information and save this as an estimate. You could certainly do that. So this is just something that, again, perhaps you haven't used it, you were wondering what it did. This allows you to, maybe you want to test out your own order form and see what Odyssey is coming up with. Maybe you want to see what customers have been going to recently today, or maybe what was popular over Black Friday, whatever the case may be. The most 50 recent website prices are showing up. If you want to show an ID, this is the second number here. Maybe you don't want to see the mess of all these other numbers, and I agree, it could get a little jumbled. You could copy and paste, select show ID below. Just that one line will then show up for you if you just wanted one ID to show up. Again, that's that second number here under identifier. I'm not going to have just that one. I'm going to reload. Whenever you're in here, you could certainly reload to see if anything new has popped up from your website, and they will also show up at the very top. If you want to show older, selecting older will, and it depends on how many you have how far back you have to go. I noticed this did take a little bit longer yesterday, but I was able to go back into October for my Odyssey to see older website prices. So maybe you're curious what happened on July 4th of 2018. Maybe you want to do a comparison or see. Looks like it did go through. Now I'm seeing some February ones, and I'm going down to November. So you can keep selecting show older, and Odyssey will keep refreshing this page and show you 50 older lines and 50 older lines. So again, depending on how you want to use it, how it might be used, you could go back as far as need be. Here I'm going back to August on some of mine. So again, if you wanted to view website prices, you're in your main estimates page, and you click on view website prices, and the 50 most recent lines of Odyssey trying to calculate a price or calculating a price will show up. Again, if you have any questions on this or you need more information, there is a blurb about this in our Odyssey guide, or you can always go to the help icon and open a support ticket if you wanted to start using this or you had questions on this. So with that, thank you for joining us during this edition of This Week in Odyssey, and just remember to stick around for a short survey at the end. Thank you very much.
For those watching live, stick around for a 2-question survey. On behalf of the whole team at Marketing Ideas for Printers, thanks for joining us.